the idea of trying to put a cookie cutter model in place that represents fair funding across the entire state for all students, I think they finally have got that a little bit better in place, and that's captured. They're hesitantly confident that it's going to be in the new biennium in some form. This forecast doesn't assume any increase based on that. Again, I'm not overly confident that it will get into that biennium. 6 months is a quick turnaround. Also included in this line is the casino revenue. Projected to maintain to be around $175,000 for the life of the forecast. The estimate for fiscal year 21 is $7.3 million, and there's no increase assumed for fiscal year 22 through 24. Moving on, line 1.04, the restricted grants and aid. This line represents the funding we received through the foundation in the form of catastrophic reimbursement, economically disadvantaged, and career tech funding. And a slight increase is assumed from last year of a little under $15,000, and then no increase for the balance of the forecast is assumed for fiscal years 21 through fiscal year 25. Line 1.05, this is your property tax allocation, almost 10% of revenue. This line has a direct correlation to the general property tax line, since this is where the homestead and rollback reimbursement, the 12.5% reimbursement that the state gives the school to make up for the taxpayer discount is received. No increase is assumed for fiscal year 21 through 25 because the new levy that passed in March does not, or in May, does not qualify for these deductions. And then line 1.06 to finish off revenue. This is all other revenue. It accounts for almost 5%. There's about $272,000 drop from last year for fiscal year 21 due to the tuition revenue and interest earnings coming down. And then for years fiscal year 22 through fiscal year 25, the drop that you see there is directly tied to interest earnings. Since our cash balance available for investment is decreasing over the life of the forecast, naturally the money you have to invest will decrease right in line with it. Then moving on to down to the expenditures. The first one, line 3.01, personal services, your salary line, which accounts for almost 54% of expenditures. As you know, all staff, including all three unions and the non-rep staff, agreed to a freeze on any increase due to a cost of living because of the unknown financial status of the district due to COVID and the governor's decrease. The personal service, this line was originally estimated for the fiscal year 2021 is $35.6 million. A 2% increase was assumed for fiscal year 21 based on a 0% cost of living, like I had stated, and a 2% step increase cost. As for fiscal year 22 through fiscal year 25, only the 2% step increase is assumed each year. It is important to understand that this increase does not assume that all staff will receive a 2% increase in each of these years, but that overall the expenditures will increase by 2%. Line 3.02, this is your employees' retirement insurance benefits, accounts for roughly 22%. The district has projected individual increases. So I kind of switched things up from how I did this last year. I got in and kind of dug into each and every pocket within this line and looked at them individually. So I gave an increase, like I looked at life insurance and gave an increase based on what I was seeing for that line. Same thing for retirement, as well as medical insurance, things like that. Whereas before I looked and said, okay, as a whole, this line is increasing at an average of 5%, 6%. Previously, it ended up averaging out to an overall rough increase of almost 5%. But that does not mean that every benefit item is growing at 5%. That just means that some might be higher, some might be lower, but an overall average of roughly 5%. Moving on, 3.03, this is your purchase services. This is almost 17% of your expenditures. And I'll look at all three of these kind of in one lump grouping. Your line 3.04, supply and materials, roughly 4% of expenditures, and your capital outlay, which is about 0.25%. That is line 3.05. For the fiscal year 21 budgeting process, we looked at every budget line in depth, and I challenged the admin team to cut 10% off of the current year budget wherever possible. This was a tough process because I also challenged them to get out of the habit of being reactionary and having to come to me to ask for additional budget dollars. I want them to be more proactive in looking ahead and planning ahead. And we had no issue with this. For the most part, obviously, there's some things that you can't control just due to inflation. But for the most part, when we're looking across the board, almost every budget manager did not have an issue with this task. So I told them that if it wasn't in their budget, it would have to wait until the next budget cycle was kind of the mindset we went into it. No increases assumed for fiscal year 22 through fiscal year 25 due to the implementation and continued working through of that zero-based budget model. Will continue to be used when the district does their budgeting going forward. In the mindset of at or below, kind of making sure we're steering each dollar directly towards, being as efficient with every dollar is kind of the mindset when it comes to these categories. And then overall, the ending cash balance is expected to decline during fiscal years 22 through 25 from almost 8.3 million at the end.
Hey Josh, can you scroll down? Can you scroll down a little bit so we can see that part?
Yes.
Thanks.
There we go. Okay, so the ending cash balance, actually, let me scroll up to that. There we go. If you can see there on line, the cash balance June 30 line, that at the end of fiscal year 22, we have a carryover of roughly 8.3 million. At the end of fiscal year 25, we're looking at an estimated $10.2 million deficit. So it's not unexpected. However, corrective action will occur over the next couple of years in an effort to reduce anticipated expenses and in order to delay as long as possible the need for additional revenue, whether that be, the possible increase of biennium budget, whether that would be the Cup-Patterson kicking in, or the need, multiple years down the road for a possible new tax levy. So overall, the forecast is a worst case scenario, always assuming increased expenditures and flat line decreased revenue. Barring a drastic or unforeseen decrease of revenue or an increase of expenditure, we should always finish better than projected. And the zero-based budgeting model I had stated before should help with this as well. It kind of helps us control cost, and as long as we're being proactive with this budgeting process and not reactive, we can always, see ahead at least a year or two to know kind of what we're expecting to come down. Obviously, that can change a little bit with this COVID, but whenever possible, we've tried to use the additional funding we have received through the different revenue sources, whether it be through federal or the state, to try and offset some of those unexpected costs due to COVID. And in closing, I want to thank the community for supporting the tax levy in May. That has allowed us it essentially bought us 2 years of solvency within the forecast. And depending again how that biennium budget works out, or if the Cup-Patterson kicks in, the situation when looking through when I watched the presentation, I'm optimistic about the direction it is. But even with the Cup-Patterson, they talked like it could be a 4 to 5 year time period before it ramps up to kind of where they fully see it functioning. So again, cautiously optimistic. They did talk about a hold harmless period if it is implemented to where we'd stay at least at the current revenue level. The thing that scares me is I don't know if they're speaking of the current revenue level now with the governor's decrease in the foundation, or if they're talking about the previous revenue level before he decreases at $900,000 a year. So again, optimistic. We're solving through the end of fiscal year 23. And if things kind of go our way, we can probably get through 24 pretty easily as well. So does anyone have any questions?
So as, I do have a question. So as treasurers for the school districts, with the pandemic putting us where we are, do you guys find yourselves having to, you're gonna have to readjust those 5-year forecasts as we go? Whether it be up or down, whether it be them returning money or continue to decrease money?
Well, I mean, yeah, looking at it from the idea of, we've got the November forecast and then the May forecast. Do I fully expect there to be some major swings when it comes to the May forecast with considering COVID and the governor's cuts and things like that? Absolutely. I would hope by May timeframe, I'm going to have a better idea of what that biennium budget's going to look like. So at least that would give us an idea in that direction, as well as then we'll have a full year almost of the impact of COVID on the general fund budget in general. And spending's different. I mean, across the board, spending's different. Obviously, the hard copy or the supplies in hand type of situation when everybody's virtual, we'll have some idea and we'll, from the looks, I mean, not from the looks of it, from the direction we're currently going now with having kids back on site, that'll, in my mind, budgeting wise, that's worst case scenario because you're looking at having to have kind of costs on site while also supporting the virtual aspect of it and running that hybrid of both. So you got to spend in both avenues or both streams is the way I look at it. So we'll have some sampling of and trending of what those costs might look like. I would think that the couple of big things that are coming up is when we start to budget for next year in January, February, that's going to start to give me some ideas, not only looking at the trending numbers, but also the needs in each building specifically. If there's somewhere that they feel is lacking and they bring that up in the budgeting process, obviously that'll impact future expenditures. But then also looking at the biennium budget again, that's going to be huge, as well as there's certain areas that being in this unique situation that we're actually saving money. Now this will probably change with the transition of students back, but we've saved a ton on sub costs because of the fact that we didn't have kids in the building and we didn't have subs. So, I mean, there's certain areas that we're saving. There's other areas that obviously they're increased. So it's, I think absolutely we're going to have some big changes for the May forecast based on trending and kind of having a better idea where revenue is adjusting and then also looking at expenditures. I don't foresee, because we obviously can update this multiple times throughout the year other than those 2 times. I don't see having enough info to do it prior to the May forecast because I think the big change is going to be that biennium, and I wouldn't want to make an adjustment prior to that.
Okay. And then the other question I have, like, how comfortable are you feeling with the directives and advice that they're giving you guys as far as training, like what to look for? I mean, I can imagine operations, we're getting information from the top down. Are they providing treasurers that same information?
Not really. I mean, I try and sit back and watch as many videos as possible when it comes to like the professional development they're offering. And then also legal updates, looking at like the Cup Patterson update from last week. I'm trying to more than ever sign up for these updates as much as possible. But if anything, these updates has shown me is that I don't know that anybody has a really good handle on it. It's a lot of estimating, a lot of guessing, a lot of projecting. And depending on who you talk to, you might get a slightly different answer. So.
Mm-hmm. Do you have, like the superintendents have a ring of superintendents that kind of brainstorm together? Do you guys have a ring like that for treasurers? Because my next thought is going to be, so we're saving money in certain columns because we don't have certain operational things going on. At some point, there's going to have to be some variances giving to where that money you save, you'll be able to allocate it somewhere else. Do you guys have a group that is ready to hit the ground running to advocate on behalf of the budgets that need to continue to be balanced as we move forward?
So 2 parts to that question. I do have treasurers that I lean on personally. There is a first ring treasurers group, and we meet and talk through everything. I still have kind of my close knit group of treasurers that I lean on heavily. But I don't know that I really feel like each district might be, I mean, especially because everybody's doing it slightly different. So just because we're saving money in certain budget areas doesn't mean that another district is, but we are constantly bouncing ideas off each other and trying to figure out directions and what's working, what's not working. And the ability, I talked about wanting to get people to be more proactive. Obviously, that was great until March, because it's kind of the balance for the idea of never finishing where the forecast is projecting that's always worst case scenario for those that, for that pocket of money, for instance, is one example of how we tend to do that.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. Any other questions?
I don't have a question. I just kind of wanted to make a comment, Josh, because I just wanted to reiterate, because for our audience listening, anyone who might listen in the future, that again, what's the most important thing to remember with these 5-year forecasts is there are so many unknowns. I mean, what you see on the page today is what's true today, but because of things like the pandemic that came up, funding decisions made by the state, which we have no decision, no influence over whatsoever. Just like you said, you were talking about the Cup-Patterson stuff. We don't know when. I mean, they've been talking about that for over a year now. And
I want to point out the fact that there was no increase on the prior biennium budget because they were projecting the Cup-Patterson to come into effect. Now here we are at the biennium, we haven't seen a penny from it.
Yes, I think I just wanted to kind of reiterate that with folks who are watching. Because I know you talked about it, but just to, again, let them know, like, there is so much not in our control. And depending on what happens with the COVID funding and also Cup-Patterson, who knows what's going to happen with that over the next year. I mean, when we look at this at May, it very well can look different. And we know by next November, it's going to look different. So, because that's something we hear all the time is like, why is there so much variance? And so, I
try to limit that variance by projecting as best as possible. You're always look at trying to keep the idea of worst case scenario constant. And you never want to hit worst case scenario, but as long as you have a constant in there, it limits some of that variance. Obviously, from November to May, there's going to be a change because of the sheer fact that you're going to have a year of actuals. So you're going to eliminate the estimates, replace them with actuals. That's going to look different. But hopefully, based on these projections, that's why I always put that tagline at the end, barring some unforeseen loss of revenue or some massive spike in expenditures, this should be at least in the ballpark for the first couple of years of the forecast. Obviously, when you get out for the 4th and 5th year, there's so much unknown. We don't know what's going to happen at the end of this year, let alone 5 years out. So thank you for reiterating that, Stephanie. That's a great point.
Sure. Well, I think about my own personal finances, and if somebody asked me 5 years out what my bottom line would look like, I would have no idea at this point. I mean, I'm going to have 2 more kids in college, and who knows how much college is going to cost by then. So thank you for all your hard work, Josh.
You're welcome. The other spin too to the Cup-Patterson to even further muddy the waters, and this is, I think, where I get a little concerned. The proposal is pulling out. So through the foundation, we get funding for every kid in the district, whether they go to SEL or not. If they go to a charter school, we receive that funding, and then we have an expenditure line within the foundation that funding leaves. Within Cup-Patterson, they are removing those non-SEL kids, and we will never see any of those dollars. So every time they give me, an estimate of, well, you could see a $1 million increase based on our projections, I'm wondering what that's included, what's not included in there. I'm wondering, because obviously under the current state formula, they estimate a current percentage. They give you the dollar amount per student, that $6,020 amount, and a certain portion of that is assumed to be collected through local tax revenue. So my concern is, if you're removing those kids like they never came through, I would naturally think that they're going to do some kind of an additional adjustment to account for those tax dollars. But again, that's some of the unknown we don't know yet. That's the scary part, I think.
Yeah. Well, and vouchers too, right? Because they've kind of put a moratorium on vouchers, but there really hasn't been any decision made on those either. So those are,
Correct.
That's still hanging out there as well, as far as what they're going to do in the future, as is testing and all of that kind of stuff that we still are trying to figure out what's going to happen.
A lot of unfunded mandates. Any other questions?
Right. Any other questions? If we don't hear any, we can go into number 2.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Hill. Actually, as for the state testing, stay tuned. I was on a call last week. You know, right now, school districts are going to have to go through the motions of taking state tests. They just don't know what they're going to count and what they're not going to count. So stay tuned on that. I will. I have another call, I think, next week on that. So we will keep you posted. Something very exciting that we have, not that our forecast is not exciting, Mr. Hill, but we have had some exciting projects going on in SEL, not just at Brush High School, but also with our transportation center. Before we get started, I just, for those listening, want to be clear. The projects that Mr. Murphy is going to be presenting, those are coming from what we call our permanent improvement dollars. They cannot be used like general fund dollars, as you just saw in the forecast for structural things and salaries. And those are 2 separate types of fund. I believe in 2003 or 1, it was before my time, that we had passed a dual levy that allowed to have for permanent improvement dollars to be utilized. What we, for those that have been with the district for a while, one of the bigger projects that had been utilized there was the 4th grade wing that was added on at Greenview. That was picked off in 2018, and we were able to get some funds available from that levy that was passed in the early 2000s. What we've been doing over the last few years is doing a window replacement in many of our buildings that we really needed. When I came here in 2012, the city of South Dakota had some different plans with regards to where our transportation center had been for about 20 years. And we decided, when Mr. Stern was here, we looked at and searched for a lot of places to have our transportation center. And it made sense that we, instead of renting somewhere else, that we centralize our transportation center, have it on our own campus, and really be able to save some money. So we're going to give you an update on that. We also know that we love Brush High School. It is a beautiful campus, but we also know that it's a very aging building. One of the exciting things is we also utilizing that permanent improvement levy dollars from early 2000s to do upgrades to Brush High School. Again, that's non-general fund money. I do want to clarify one last point. The levy that was passed in March, the 5.9 operating and the 1 mil for permanent improvements. As Mr. Hill said, that doesn't start, we don't start collecting on that until the following January. So I want folks to know is that, and that was earmarked to start our air conditioning. So that is going to be something we're going to be starting a little bit later, but I just kind of want to clarify a little bit where it was coming for these projects that we're are very excited about and can't wait for the kids to be able to see everything. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Murphy. He'll present something, and I'm going to mute my button right now.
Let's see here. Let me try to present this window to you. Welcome, everybody. A
a little bit of sharing. This was actually planned pre-COVID. So we actually started these projects actually last year and really got it underway in January, February is when they kind of kicked off right along with COVID. So this project definitely had its challenges. From everybody had to stay home, to factories closing, to guys came to work and the next day the whole company had to go home for 3 weeks, those types of things. So it really stretched out the projects quite a bit. Even getting steel that we needed. Well, the factories were shut down, so we couldn't get the steel on time. Things like that. At this point, luckily we're wrapping most of it up. We're still waiting on a few things like glass. Believe it or not, glass is very hard to find. It's shipping on the 19th, so we're getting there. So we'll have some glass installed in the library and Wi-Fi cafes. You'll see we're missing that part right now just because it's very difficult to get from all the COVID and all the activities over summertime. We weren't the priority. So it was definitely tough to find those types of things. But what I'm going to do is share some pictures with you and hopefully you get a chance to go over and visit at some point. It's kind of difficult with the kids back in school and COVID and things like that. But hopefully the parents will be able to get in. The students have already been seeing it, or some of the students, but hopefully the parents at some point when we're able to open back up and have COVID go to the side, hopefully a little bit, be able to see these live because the pictures don't do it justice. I am not a photographer, so I did my best on trying to share these. But here's some pictures of the media center. You can see the furniture's in, the books. If you look closely there, the bookshelves are filled. We're ready. Students are in. Part of what we're missing again is some of the glass that has to go up on a wall that's over here on the side. You'll see that this is like drywall over here to the right side. That would be glass. The glass doors to enter right now are not in. But you can see everything else is in, ready, and it's beautiful. It's updated. From what I'm hearing from the kids and staff, they're loving it. So we just have a few more things to install, but that's our media center. So very excited. We have some good equipment on its way that we're installing currently and some technologies. So, but you can see there the fire rated glass ships on November 19th. And we will be installing that in December. It actually ships from California on the 19th is when it leaves. So hopefully soon we'll have a media center full and ready to go. Here's a shot of the Wi-Fi Cafe. We do have a Wi-Fi Cafe that's going in that will sell everything from t-shirts, art t-shirts, branding type things, to coffee, to snacks. This wall back here, you can see it's temporary. That would be glass again. So we are missing glass back here, and there'd be some doors back there to get well. But a little bit of seating area around for kids to stay, have some coffee. There's also we can fold up some t-shirts or sweatshirts and sell some of our spirit wear out of this Wi-Fi Cafe. So
Mike, if we could too, for those of you that if you're not sure where this is at, this is where the entrance of Rush High School and where it's a former office of two of our assistant principals. So it's right there up front. And I think Mr. Caperta was in it last year, and I'm not sure who else, but it's up front. And the idea is, during the day, actually, some of our students can be selling things. We want a spirit workshop. When we have our plays again, our live plays, when there's intermission, that there's actually an area that they can sell concessions and different things like that. But so it's placed very well.
Yeah, right up front, open houses, things like that. Great time for parents to be able to stop in. It's right in the front lobby. So it's right up front. So hopefully everybody will get some wonderful use out of that. This is our innovation lab. It used to be the wood shop. It's become more than just a wood shop now. It's the innovation lab, and we're going to have classes coming out of here, like STEM classes. We still need a few things to happen in there. As you can see up at the top there, the HVAC piping still needs to be moved. They had some pipes come down a little low, and some of our students, some of our 6'8" students and 6'9" students that are sophomores even right now would be hitting their head on those pipes. So we're in the process of moving a few pipes. We didn't realize they were going to come down that low, so the plumber has to come back. But as you can see, the furniture's in. It looks wonderful and it's ready to go. We still have a little bit of technology to go. These are wonderful windows here on the right from the hallway that look in there. So all the 3D printers, when they're printing and the kids are inventing, it really opens it up and hopefully draws other kids to want to be a part of that. You can also see into the back room back here with some windows and doors where the robotics section is. And the robotics will be the next slide, but hopefully drawing kids in. That's what we were after. Opening up that classroom and hopefully getting some excitement for the kids in there. This is the Robotics Lab. Down here on the floor, you can see there's a pretty wide floor open here. That is where the competition ring goes. So if you ever watch, the battles that they have, they actually put a ring and put a couple robots in there together and have competitions. So that's where the ring would go. It's not up yet. They haven't quite moved in yet, but once they're in, that's where the competitions will happen. So, or at least practices will happen. But again, another wonderful space. And hopefully right now the robotics will turn just from a club even into a course. So the aim of that is to get more kids excited about it and actually offer it as a course during the school day. Locker rooms came out wonderful. This happens to be the varsity football locker room. There is a spot behind this wall here where the JV football locker room is. You can see it back here in the back. And then back here to the left, to the back left is where a freshman football locker room is. There is also a girls soccer locker room. And then the girls track team would use that locker room as well in the spring. And then there's also a boys soccer locker room during the fall, and then the boys track team in the spring. And they look very similar to this. As you can see, it's kind of wide open, the wide open pro style lockers where the kids can sit in here, and there is lockable areas up top and down below to be able to lock their things up. But I think there'll be a lot of pride in this. There's an actual locker room now over by Corb Field, where before there were no locker rooms. We really couldn't hold tournament games or any of that type of thing. And in other schools, when they came, they were like, we have to go into a gym or a cafeteria or something. That's our locker room. They were not really appreciating that. Our guys are going to be very proud about this now. Very proud about it all. And the kids are seeing it and loving it, absolutely loving it. It does match somewhat the basketball locker room that we installed last year with the open style, pro style lockers. So the basketball teams have that now as well. Here's the multi-purpose room, which is above the locker rooms. It used to be the old East Gym that we raised up to the second floor. So this is what it looks like now on the second floor above those locker rooms. So you can still see it's an East Gym, but it's all brand new. So the roof was raised. We raised the roof and have some wonderful workout. The kids are already using it for tryouts. Again, there's a few small things that they have to finish. You can see the padding's not quite up to the top here. They have to come back and add another foot of padding. So little things, but now there's basketball courts all around, the volleyball courts there. So very nice gym that we're able to use. And the East Gym was getting quite old and dingy, and now it's brand new and the kids are happy to do workouts in there. This room also, we saved some of the tables from the cafeteria, the old tables, and we're going to be using it for testing, some different things like that. We can host XL Tech before they go on trips over there to XL Tech. They can gather here and have meetings up here. So it's more than just a gymnasium. It is a multi-purpose room, and it's intended to be used that way. Concession stand. We finally have a concession stand at Corb Field. I'm very excited that the concession stand is actually outside. So that large area right by the home stand, this is in the side of the wall. We opened up that area so that actually we can go up there and don't have to go inside the building and stream everybody down that small walkway into the building. So now it's visible right from the stands and a lot more open, as you can see. So very excited to have this ready to go for next year or for track season. I tried to take several, we have several slides of cafeteria. So here's a few shots of the cafeteria. You can see how nice the floor looks. There are some different types of seating now. These are the low tops, regular cafeteria tables that basically you see in this slide. Here you can see out the windows onto the field. You notice the field's back here. So we opened this wall up and made those windows in the commons. So it's raised a little bit. So people walking in front of those windows don't block the view. But hopefully, I think Mr. Williamson is talking about maybe seniors would eat up here during the day. It'd become a senior area for lunch. And then by night, possibly the boosters might want to utilize this for indoor, warm, not getting rained on football tickets. And they do have access to the concession stand, by the way, on the back side of the concession stand from here also. But you can see there's some different style seating here, from emblems, with our A engraved on it, to some soft padded. Here on the right, you see some of the high top seating that we have in the cafeteria. So there's everything from, high tops to regular to padded. The kids that have been in there have absolutely loved everything. They're very excited about it. Here's another shot of just going up there to the commons area where hopefully we can even utilize that at night. I don't know if a PTA might want to utilize that section up there, up on the commons to hold meetings or whatever else the community might want. But and you can see some of the lower padded seating over here, more laid back a little bit with some coffee table in between that they can set things on. So I'm very excited about the cafeteria. Here's some of the hallways. Again, it's hard to get pictures of all the hallways, but you can get the idea here of what the hallways now look like. If you remember, these were lined with orange lockers in the past. So we still do have some orange lockers down some of the halls, but here's what they can be converted to. On the left-hand side here, you see these benches. This is right outside the PAC. So if there's plays, performances, and it's right before the play is going to start or right after or halfway through break, people can come out and actually have a spot to sit and relax a little bit and then go back into the play. We also have some Excel Tech kids or whoever that get to school a little early and they're waiting on class to start because of the busing. This is also a place they're going to be waiting. You can see here, even just making the water fountains look nice. There's a bottle filler now. These schools were built in the 20s. The school was built back in the 20s, late 20s. There was no such thing as a bottle filler. So the kids were almost afraid to use some of the water fountains. So nice water fountains where you can fill bottles, and especially now during COVID, great opportunity to fill your bottles. But you can see how clean the hallways look now without those orange lockers, kind of standing out. So definitely updated view of it. This is the only shot I had of attendance office just because they're in the process of this week installing the glass and the doors. So the doors right here just got installed. So I tried to grab a picture right before the meeting. This just got installed here, but that's the new entry. So this is the main lobby here. As soon as you walk into the school, there used to be a roll top here with the attendance office where you checked in when you were tardy. That is now a glass door. It's an office. So the attendance is now an office area. And we do have a vestibule now. So when you enter the school, you would have to go into the vestibule, check in with security in the office. Then you could come into here into the attendance and then into the school. So no longer are people walking directly into the hallways when they enter the building. They'll be going through security and attendance offices before they get into the hallway. So a lot better situation there. As you can tell, this is not complete yet. We are hoping within the next week to 2 weeks that this will be complete, is what we're looking for. So hopefully that is done in a week or two, and you can hear my grandson's on his way over and making plenty of noise. So sorry about that in the background. The front of the building, this is a conceptual front of the building. This is what it's going to look like. It does not look like this yet. This is what they're completing into June. So as you can see here, this was the drawing and the concept. Here is what it currently looks like. We do have some of the brush signage up here. It looks wonderful, and some of the concrete done. And you can see some of the tower going up here in the background. But, you know, hopefully soon we will be seeing that within the next few weeks. So they do plan on completing this early December. So hopefully in early December, late November, we will be seeing the rest of this. All the concrete is pretty much in at this point out in the front. So there are stairs and ways to get in the building. But this tower up front, they're still working on, along with the doors to the right side. So those things still have to be accomplished still, but we're getting close. So that's the last piece of brush that needs completed. All the rest of the areas are kind of there. We've gone through some checklists. Hey, you know, this light switch doesn't work, or the paint's nicked over here. So they're adjusting all those things, the little things now with our checklist, our walkthrough. And then the front of the building really is going to be the end of the project. So it's near. We're getting very excited. Here is the transportation center. They are looking to complete this early December as well. Now completed, you can actually see the parking lot is actually lined already and everything. So they did these line, the drywall's all up, the doors are in now. They're just completing the inside, and it won't take them very long to do that. As you can see up top, fencing, landscaping, that will happen in the spring. We kind of ran out of time, and by the time the dirt settles and compacted, we're not going to be able to set fence posts or finish the landscaping, so that will have to wait till the spring. But I know that's a long time coming, the transportation center, so it is time. So within the next month, this will be complete and ready, and our buses will be coming out of the bus garage, the new bus area, the new bus parking lot. And really, that is the update. So very excited where we're at. And hopefully you guys are excited and get a chance to go see it.
Mike, one of the things, Mike, can you take us back to the innovation lab? Because I want to thanks for all the wonderful slides, because I want to make one point here that we didn't get. It's not done yet, but I want to explain it. So right here, so you know where the old wood shop is, and there's that hallway, where the innovation lab is now. And on opposite that, also most of our, if not all of our art classes are in that back area there. So what we did was we took out on the opposite of the glass wall here, we took out, you can kind of see it through the windows there.
You can see those showcases over.
Showcases. So that wall no longer has lockers, and it's a wall of showcases. And we worked with the art department on this to see how deep they wanted the showcases to be. So now that we can showcase the kids' work back there, the hallway in between the PAC and the media center. We also worked with the art department. They're going to have what they call a senior wall. And so we're allowing them to, I guess it's up to whatever they want to do. Like the seniors, like could do their mural. I mean, it could be something that they can work on the senior class. And across from that, we actually have, it's kind of sets in a little bit to about 3 feet. And we talk about having easels where kids can sit out there and draw. And what we're trying to accomplish here too is, again, inspire other kids. This is why we want kids, when they walk through the halls, to be able to see things, see kids working. I might be a freshman, but I'm looking into this innovation lab and I'm seeing other kids do stuff. I'm seeing kids in the hall, painting part of the mural, different things. So, we wanted the not to just update the space. We're trying to make some of the space functional and things that they can do as well. So all we need is kids right now. Do some of this stuff, but just wanted to kind of give you a few updates. But thank you, Mike. And I don't know if there's any questions, but just wanted to bring up that last point.
I had a question actually. I noticed you were talking about landscaping around the transportation garage. Are they doing any landscaping outside the library? Because that is all going to be new.
It will not be in that inner court area by the library. We did not put that as part of the project. We did look at redoing that inner court by the library. We took that out of the project at this point, just to make sure that we were financially responsible with all the other projects going on. but that doesn't mean it won't happen soon. There is some landscaping up front, if you'll notice, around the circle. We kind of changed the parking around the circle, and we also changed the handicap accessibility up there. So a lot of landscaping will go up in front of the building at this point, besides the transportation center. Yeah.
I don't know if you notice on the front of the building what's kind of nice to me and hopefully the board. If you look at the front, it says educate, inspire, empower. That's part of our mission statement and things that we've had in our strategic plan. And so this is something that it also will live on for a while with regards to what we're about. So we did try to incorporate parts of our strategic plan and our mission and our vision.
This is Neil. First thing, the work looks fabulous. Has it gotten to you, Mike, about the pointy corners that are on the molding of the bump out by Corb Field?
Yeah, that got to be, there's supposed to be pilasters down there by those, so people can't bump into those corners.
Okay.
They might even be in already. Yeah, there's pilasters that go there that help protect that, so it shouldn't be an issue with safety.
Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure that was taken care of. Second is an awful lot of locker rooms. The football team's locker room, who else is going to use that?
The football locker room, yeah, the other people that would use that are visiting teams. So when we have visiting teams for like soccer, then that visiting team goes in there, or for track meets, the visiting track team goes in there. That's who uses those. So like
you broke up.
There, the visiting football team uses the soccer locker rooms, and when the soccer teams are using it, then the visitors use the football locker room.
Okay.
There's really, I think, I know, Mike, you're breaking up a little bit too. There's really kind of like four, you only saw one picture, but I believe there's 4 different spaces for locker rooms. Remember you talked about the girls' track and, right? So.
Yeah, well, there's 3 different locker rooms, really. So 3 different rooms. The football locker room, then you have the boys and girls track and soccer team, or girls soccer team and track, and boys soccer team and track. So there's really 3 locker rooms total.
So the football locker room essentially is going to be used for football, or did you say that when football is not in season, it'll be used for the visiting teams of other sports?
Visiting teams will use that, yes.
Okay.
And one thing about the East Gym, again, for those not familiar, it was, again, not trying to be critical, it was a big, large, unusable space. It was, I mean, when you talk about the showers that we went, there were existing showers back there, you would not even want to see that. We've been able to revive some really old shower space and make some functional. Again, I always look at a space and think, how can we use it for multiple purposes? So the bottom floor was then the East Gym is now functional locker rooms. We revived the shower space. And then, of course, we raised the roof and you have a multi-purpose room. We needed a large space for testing. Obviously, it's practice space, but I don't know if you know, but our special needs program, every year we host, not just for Brush High School students, but the Hillcrest area, we have a huge dance that takes place in there. And it's just going to be so much nicer than, we get a DJ, it's going to be so much nicer, the lighting than what the East Gym was. So that's the piece where, we're excited to utilize if you weren't, again, ever been in the East Gym, it was a very old piece of dead space. It was pretty bad. The lighting is also really important. You've seen studies on, when you looked at the cafeteria and you can see the lighting here or down the main hall, it just looks so much brighter with the type of lighting we've been able to bring in. And, again, the kids are commenting on it, but I can't wait till more people can see it. And not really sure how we go about doing that, but really the pictures don't do it justice. So we'll have to maybe plan something after December.
Can I just add, Stephanie? I didn't get to go through, but Megan was home and her and Franny and Greg walked through. So Greg, as a freshman, could get a little sense before school started. And then Jack walked through as well. And they were just floored and in fact, they were so excited when they came back. I was like, well, where are the pictures? And they're like, oh, we forgot to take pictures. I'm like, what do you mean you forgot to take pictures? And they said they were just so could not believe that was their school and that was their space, that it didn't even dawn on them to take pictures because they were just so excited about seeing the space. And I would agree, looking at that East gym, the old gym was so dreary. And all I can think about is we used to make kids take tests in that gym. And it was so, with the lights on, it was so dark. It was like you were in a cellar. So to see this space and that kids are going to be able to utilize it for so many different things and testing and everything else. I mean, and the fact that we didn't have to go out to the community for more money, I think is also a big plus because we have been able to do this based on money that we've raised before and that we've had in our budget and have been able to maximize its use without asking for new money. So, I mean, it's phenomenal. I can't wait to see it all done. I'm just so excited for our kids and hopefully they will all get to get in there soon.
Thank you.
So I will ask this question. So with these new multi-purpose rooms and areas being created, I think, and you tell me if I'm wrong, is that also allowing us the opportunity to take some of that weight off the back of Corb? And in my opinion, not Corb, Welser. And in my opinion, the life longevity of those spaces will kind of be extended because now you have a balance.
Correct, because now we can actually utilize this space, and we've done some testing in the other gym, in Welser gym, just because we needed the large space, and at that point, the East gym was not usable. So hopefully this takes some of that load along with basketball practices, volleyball practices. So yeah, we get a lot longer time out of Welser gym now.
Right, softball practices, batting, cages and different things like that. And this is a, even when you look at wrestling, I know a lot of people don't follow wrestling, but it's important to those that participate in it. I mean, this is a much smaller, a little bit smaller, intimate place than Welser Gym. And so sometimes even hosting certain activities or even sporting events is more, this will be a more of an appropriate place to be able to in my opinion, I watch wrestling a lot. It just, people can be up closer. It's not really kind of, when you look at Welser, it's meant more for basketball. It's got, and things like that. So, it definitely will. And I think timing wise, I think you can run practices simultaneously. It's not like the girls or the boys and one of the teams has to wait till 7:00 at night. What we're hoping to do is be able to, run some more practices if the coaches are available simultaneously, depending on whether it's a boy or girls program.
Well, they're probably more apt to want to practice in this space than they were in East Gym because it was so dark that this is a much better situation for them.
Yeah.
This is Catherine. Are there steps to get into this multi-purpose room from outside?
No, there's actually a ramp. It's smooth to the hallways. So actually you get in there from the second floor A wing. And it's just it's a small ramp. It's like 3 inches, 4 inch difference from the hallway into the gym.
Oh, okay. And then are there seats in this or like?
Yeah, it's hard to tell from this picture. But if you look down the side here, this is a long bench. Actually, the whole side here. And then, I'm sorry. The wrong way. This is a whole bench down this side. And then on this side of the gym, there's actually room where you could put a probably 3 to 4 seat bleacher going up the side if we wanted to.
Got it.
There's plenty of space.
Yeah. I'm thinking about the blood drive.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, plenty of bleachers, but yeah, this whole side's a bench. So this long side, it's hard to see it there, but that is a bench.
Cool.
All right, I think that's all. Thank you so much, Mr. Murphy, for that presentation. I was up on the grounds last weekend. My kid chose to do senior pictures outside of Brush High School, even though there was construction, and it was coming along pretty nice. I was excited to look at the potential and what was done there.
Good.
I'm a little disappointed though. You didn't call my phone and tell me you seen me on the camera, because if Dana was here, Dana would have called me to ask me what I was doing there.
He probably still
Keep
did
up.
to you.
So keep up the good work, and we'll look forward to another update as we get closer.
Thanks.
That was the two items that I had this evening. We do not have any action items on the agenda, but we'll have a regular meeting next week with that. And I, Lord Josh, have any reasons for executive session this evening?
Nope.
Okay. We don't have a need for executive session. I know it's not on the agenda item, but can we just go to like a and you tell me if I'm inappropriate, Linda or Josh, like an information piece? I know it's listed on there.
Technically, being a special board meeting, being what was on the agenda, typically you can't add after the fact.
Okay.
I move to go to executive session as it relates to personnel.
Okay. That we can do.
And I do know, no, she's still here. We just for the purposes of letting everyone know that is on, we will not be taking any action. We're just going to have some discussions regarding personnel, and these are matters that are allowed to be kept confidential by the statutes. So no board action will take place. Can we get a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
This is Stephanie, second.
I don't know. I think most of the administrative pieces can leave. I don't know if Melissa might want to stay.
Okay.
I
How
think
about we
that's
have,
it.
okay, and then once you take the roll call, let me know, and then we will, Mr. Alessandro, you can, after roll call is done, before we go into executive session, you can cease the streaming.
Okay. May we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Mr. Bloomberg,
Here.
Mrs. Ryan,
Here.
Ms.
Or aye.
Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Miss Lee.
Aye.
All right. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Have a great rest of the week.
Okay, so everybody with the exception of Ms. Thompson, and then of course, Mr. Alessandro could stop the streaming. We will